I'm asking not for an erasure of our enormous debt, but for its restructuring.
A disembodied animated feature which was the toast of the Cannes Film Festival, the Greek debt crisis as Greek tragedy in Costa Gavras' latest film, and a poignant story of dance and desire in Georgia. That's all coming up in today's show. Well, for that, I'm joined by film critic Lisa Nesselson as usual. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
And we're also joined by director Jérémy Clapin. Hi, Jérémy.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Now, your film, I Lost My Body, screened at the Cannes Film Festival in May, and it was a word-of-mouth sensation. People were raving about it when they left the cinema. And to give people a clue about this story, I'd say it has two protagonists, Nalfel, a young man, and a disembodied hand. Can you tell us about what links them?
Oh, wow. The speech for the film was really hard to deliver because nobody believed on us when we say the pitch, and they need to see the film. But the pitch, I will try, is a story of a hand who escaped from a fridge. And during its journey through the town, Paris, it will remind her past life with the boy it belongs to. And so we will discover Naufel with the point of view of his hand.
It's a very omniscient hand, I must say. Let's take a look at a clip of I Lost My Body. This is a taste of some of the adventures that little hand gets up to.
Now, I first saw just a few minutes of this touching and melancholy and visually dazzling film as a work in progress way back in 2014 at an event called Cartoon Movie, which is an annual gathering of European animators who are showing what they're working on, what they would like to make. And can you tell us what your life as an animator was like between 2014 and 5 years later when the finished film, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival?
I know animation is a long process, but we spend like 7 years before the day, until the day I have the book in my hand, because this is an adaptation. And when 4 years ago we were at the Cartoon Movie to try to find funding to support the film, but in fact nobody wanted the film. Even with this kind of pitch, a hand, severed hand, nobody wanted to go upon this and to find the poetry behind this, because the film is not about only a journey of a hand through the town. It's a much more than that. We are talking about universal thematic, memory, loss, and the audience is never prepared to get what it gets at the end.
Now, you mentioned it's an adaptation of a book by Guillaume Laurent. It's called Happy Hand. Now, Guillaume Laurent's well known here in France for his screenplays, very famous films like Amélie, The City of Lost Children. How did you collaborate on the story together?
We started in 2012, and because I was the director, I have to be the guy who betray the book, and I cannot ask Guillaume to betray his own book. The film is really sensorial, and it's hard to talk about sensoriality in a book, and the cinema help us to talk about touch, about sound, about our relation to the world. And so I have to put all this in the new version of the script, and so now the film is a bit far from the book.
Well, as well as Guillaume Laurent, another important contributor was actor Dev Patel, who's the voice of Naufel in the English version of the film. I asked him why he wanted to get involved.
The animation is just utterly mesmerizing. It's soulful, and it kind of plays with form. And you've never put so much emotion on this hand. I was only going to spend a couple of hours for 3 or 4 days in a room, and we ended up going for like 10, 12 hours each day because we just wanted to do this beautiful piece of art justice.
Now, Jérémy, when you're creating a character like Naufel, the mannerisms, the gestures, do you think about the voice when you're drawing, or is it the other way round?
At the beginning, yes, because I'm trying to make the character alive in my head, and when they talk into my head. I'm not fooled, but I have I have a kind of idea of the voice I want, with the hesitation I want for the character as a kind of characteristic. And so when you are making the casting, trying to find a good one, there is something who really match with what you have in your mind. Sometimes it's really fit, and sometimes it brings something completely different, and you see a new character, but the good character for the film.
Now, for people who practice Zen, there's a famous question: what is the sound of one hand clapping? For you as an animator, is it strange? Most artists use their hands to create their art. Was it strange for you to use your hand to create a hand?
Yes, because this is a right hand in the movie, and I was trying to draw the hand a lot of time, but I cannot draw my right hand because I'm using it to draw. So I had to try to do this and then to reverse my drawing each time. So yes, the relation with the hand, with a graphic designer as me or illustrator is really important. So I used to. I put a lot in this hand in the film because it got a little dots here, and I used to have this one when I was young, and it disappeared when I grew up. So it's a little bit of my hand into the hand of the film.
Truly the hand of the artist. Well, we're moving on next to a director who was honoured for his 5-decade career at the Venice Film Festival this year, Costa-Gavras. Now, his latest film is released in France this week. It's called The Adults in the Room, and it tackles that turbulent time in 2015 when Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis went on a frantic European tour to try and tackle the Greek public debt crisis. Can you tell us more about the film, Lisa?
Well, Adults in the Room is based on the first-person book that Varoufakis wrote, and the title refers to a moment when International Monetary Fund's Christine Lagarde threw up her hands after a particularly punishing meeting of the so-called Eurogroup, which is a loosely regulated but incredibly powerful entity comprised of the finance ministers of all the Eurozone nations, and they meet monthly to discuss Eurozone interests. In 2015, all they were interested in was ordering Greece to pay its gargantuan debt, whether that was actually possible or not. Varoufakis hoped to sort of negotiate a kinder, gentler solution to the humanitarian crisis underway in Greece. Austerity measures were, ruining people's lives and also increasing the debt. But as the film makes clear, compromise, empathy, and compassion wouldn't fill a thimble when Varoufakis goes up against career politicians.
Okay, well, let's take a look.
What's your plan? Compromise on everything without ending up compromised.
Your party promised the voters you'd wipe out the debt.
There are electoral promises and there's reality.
Meaning?
I want to negotiate the restructuring of the debt, forgiving part of it, and putting an end to austerity so the economy can grow again.
They won't let you do that.
Prime Minister fully supports me.
And the radicals in the party?
They obey the Prime Minister.
Now, filmmaker Costa-Gavras left his native Greece as a young man and came to France. This is the first time he's made a film in his home country. Do you think it's worth seeing?
Definitely worth seeing because it's so educational. I didn't say lively and enthralling, I said educational. And it's admirable that every important character in this film is actually played by an actor from the country they represent. While writing the script, Costa-Gavras listened to hours and hours of recordings made by Varoufakis during the actual gatherings and discussions. As an insider explained it to me, Varoufakis started doing that when he asked for a transcript of a Eurogroup meeting, and he was told, well, there aren't any. So talk about what goes on behind closed doors. I wrote in my notes while I was watching the film that it manages to be both interesting and dull. You have to pay attention. But what's very clear is that the film takes the stance that saving German and French banks was all that really mattered to the European Commission and the Eurogroup, hence their refusal to negotiate.
Okay, well, we're moving to another writer-director who's an emigre now, Levin Arkin, who grew up in Sweden, but his family are originally from Georgia. Now, this director was inspired to make this next film after he saw a gay pride parade savagely attacked by a mob in Tbilisi in 2013, and apparently they were enlisted by the Orthodox Church. The film is called And Then We Danced. Tell us more about it.
I love this movie, a Sweden, Georgia, France co-production. It is so full of suspense and energy and effortless local color, and the main actor is adorable, lithe and supple, with a boyish face, sort of like Barry Manilow's young Georgian cousin. This is an edgy, eventful portrait of a deeply, deeply conservative society that, globalization be damned, still has the power to ostracize citizens who dare to buck tradition. Now, Georgian dance is very special. It's not just codified, virile, and muscular. It is, as a powerful ballet administrator puts it in the film, the spirit of the nation, a nation that has zero tolerance for homosexuality. Well, Merab and his brother David are gifted dancers with the National Georgian Ensemble in Tbilisi, but when Irakli, a handsome and gifted dancer from another town, joins the troupe, there's this instant spark of rivalry and also confusing desire. And if they act on that, this will be very, very problematic. The pas de deux between the two characters is magnificent.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us this week. And Jérémy, thank you so much for telling us more about I Lost My Body, which is in French cinemas. We'll leave you with a clip of And Then We Danced. And do remember, you can get more movie news on our website, and you can also keep up with Encore on social media too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
მუხსეცულად ეცემი და იტკენ და ვეღარ იცნობ.
ქართული ცეკვა ვაშკაცობაზეა დაფუძნებული. სისუსტის ადგილი არა.